In the last two videos, we explored something many of us had never really thought about. We spoke about how our families shape our inner voice and how sometimes, without anyone intending harm, we begin depending on someone else's voice more than our own. But what happens when we carry that pattern into our adult relationships? It's important for us to know actually what happens. Because that's where is love. That's where love can slowly begin to feel like pressure. Hi, I'm Mahalakshmi Samson. I'm a personal excellence life coach. I'm a mental health counselor and integrative practitioner. In my work and even in people around me, I have noticed something very subtle. Many adults appear independent. They have careers, families, responsibilities. They make countless decisions every day. But emotionally, if you see, they are still searching for one thing. That is, someone to tell them, you're okay, you're making the right decision, and I approve of it. And when approval becomes the place where we feel emotionally safe, then what happens is love slowly changes. Imagine someone who has always looked to one important person for clarity. And now that they are married, or they have entered a close relationship, or they are working with someone who genuinely cares about them. But every important decision still travels through that old emotional pathway. They ask, what would my father think? What would my mother say? Will they approve? Will I disappoint them? And without realizing it, their present relationship is now sharing space with voices from the past. Imagine being that other person. You don't want control. You don't even want to be right. You simply want your relationship to have a room to grow. But every important decision already belongs somewhere else emotionally. And slowly you begin feeling like you are competing not with another person but with an emotional pattern. This is why emotional pressure doesn't always come from demands. Sometimes it comes from comparison. Sometimes it comes from guilt. Sometimes from the fear of disappointing someone we deeply love. And sometimes the pressure isn't even coming from other people anymore. It is coming from the voice we have carried inside us for years. And this is something I often ask my clients. When you're about to make an important decision, whose disappointment are you trying to avoid? Because the answer to that question often reveals who still has the strongest emotional influence in your life. And for every action, there is a consequence, and that consequence would come in the form of a cost. And the cost for this, if you look at it, when approval becomes our emotional oxygen, three things slowly begin to happen. The first one is we stop trusting ourselves. Even small decisions start feeling heavy because we are constantly checking whether someone else would agree or not. The second one is relationships begin carrying invisible pressure. The people around us aren't asking us to choose them, but they can feel that emotionally they never quite come first. The third one is love becomes exhausting because instead of simply loving each other, we are also trying to protect everyone from disappointment, and eventually, someone always feels unseen. So, what does healthy love look like? Healthy love isn't the absence of guidance. It isn't rejecting the wisdom of our parents or even pretending we don't need anyone. It is something much more deeper. Healthy love allows us to stay connected without surrendering our own voice. It allows us to stay. I value your perspective. I appreciate your experience, and I also want to learn to trust my own judgment. And that is not disrespect, that is emotional maturity. So if you're someone who's here and you feel stuck, what are the three things that you can do? From my space, I would like to suggest you three gentle practices. The first one is notice whose voice appears first. The next time you're making an important decision, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, what do I actually want, before asking anyone else? Second one is learn to disappoint without losing love. This may be one of the hardest emotional skills because growing into yourselves will sometimes disappoint people who are used to the older version of who you have been. But disappointment doesn't always mean you have done something wrong. And the third one, if you look at it, let relationships evolve. The healthiest relationship don't remain exactly the same forever. They grow, they adapt, they make room for two people to continue becoming themselves. And when you become aware of this, that is where you build your wisdom. When you build your wisdom and when you choose to grow through your wisdom, that's when transformation happens. And I wish you the best in your effort to do that. If any part of today's conversation felt uncomfortable to you, don't rush to change anything. Simply notice. Awareness is where change begins. As I said that. Love should never require us to disappear. And maybe real emotional maturity isn't choosing between connection and individuality, it is learning how to hold both at the same time. Because the healthiest relationships are not built on emotional dependence, they are built on two people who can stand on their own and still choose to walk together. If this conversation made you reflect on your own relationships, I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And in the next video, we will explore something many people carry without realizing it, the unseen emotional load. It is the invisible weight of trying to keep everyone happy, avoid conflict, and protect relationships, often at the cost of ourselves. Until then, remember, you don't become less loving by finding your own voice. You simply become more fully yourself. So, thank you very much for watching this video. Till we meet in the next one, see you and bye.